We didn't use it much in my generation, and so I'd be surprised if you even heard of it. But you'll see it in your Bible. Okay, it means foolishness, right? You know, you can have you've probably seen people in the neighborhood at school, and you're just saying that they're acting foolish. You know, sometimes you may say that that's stupid, right? That's the whole idea. It's just folly. It doesn't make any sense, and no good's going to come of it. Okay. So that's what I'm going to talk to you all a few minutes about today, and that's what the sermon is about: learning to avoid folly. And so it would be like the teacher says to the class, "Okay, we're going to have some study time." You don't have that at school? They give you some study time in some of your classes? Okay. So the teacher says, we're going to have some study time. Now, it's maybe hard to, and I admit, I saw this and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to put this up there now. But I want to give you a shot at it. Who do you think's causing distraction in this little group right here? They're supposed to be studying. What do you think, Dave?
I think it's the guy on the far left in the front row.
Over here?
Looks like he's about to pass the note.
Okay. What do you think, Jordan?
The guy in the middle,
Why's that?
he's wearing different clothes and all that stuff.
You see how different it is? What's he doing? He's calling attention to what? To himself, right? He wants to be a distraction, right? He wants to create foolishness. Okay. Now I know that was a stretch, but other than that, I wanted to put this up here. But I want you to see how easy it is to be, and you need to think about that too. You know, when you dress for school, is to make sure you're not dressing to be a distraction. You know, God says that to Christians. You know, dress modestly. Don't dress in a way that's going to cause attention. You don't go to school. Hopefully, you don't go to school for people to be talking about you. You go. What's your purpose of going to school? To learn, right? Now you just keep that in mind, and that's the whole idea here. Anything else is folly. It's just foolishness. All the people that come here, and I can tell you, I went to school with some really cool dudes that are walking the street right now. Some of them don't even have homes. They were star basketball players, you know. No insurance, and so it may look cool, but ultimately you'll see if it's foolishness. Okay? So that's the point here is folly is something that isn't going to accomplish anything good. Okay, it would be the same. I thought about sports. You play baseball, and the coach says it's time to practice. Rather than practice, you got guys doing everything. Sitting around, goofing off, talking to each other. Okay, now that may seem cool during the time, but when it comes time for the game, what's the value of that? It's foolishness, right? It's not going to accomplish anything because the purpose of practice is to improve, is to get prepared for the game, right? Same would be with a band. I know, AJ, y'all probably have a band. Do you have? You got band in middle school? Okay. When I was growing up, I think you might have had band in high school. And then we didn't have it, the instruments or band. But that's a whole different generation. Okay, so y'all got band in your school, and so if the band director says that we've already got a plan. This is the music we're going to play for the march we're planning. This is the what do you call them? This is the procedure we're going to use. But then you got somebody that says, I don't like that. I want to set up my own arrangement. And so they go out and start working on a marching arrangement that's different than what the director has said. That's foolishness, right? Why? Because you're not going to use it. The director has already said, this is what we're going to do. Or you got a group that says, I don't like the music that he picked, so we're going to go work on our own music. Well, that's a waste of time. Why? Because the director has already said. So you see the point. So folly can find itself in all kinds of places. Basically, it's when someone in authority has made a plan. And that person in authority is the one that will decide what gets done. Okay? Well, when that happens, there are all kinds of activities that are going to be working toward that plan. But when you got people that decide, I don't want to do it, that's folly. It's foolishness. You may spend a lot of time doing something other than the plan, but when it's all said and done, if the teacher says, for example, we're going to study chapter 8, and you say, I don't like that. I want to go study chapter 20 or chapter, Well, that may be cool to you, but when the teacher's going to test you on what? Chapter 8. So that was folly, you see? And so that's the whole idea when it comes to God. God is the one that has the authority to say what the plan is, right? You know that. And so God says, this is the plan. Not just He has a plan for everybody, but He says to you and Jordan, I have a plan for you. And this is what I want you to do. It begins with basic things like, I want you to obey your parents. I want you to do what you know is right. Do what they tell you. Okay, if you say, well, yeah, I hear what God is saying, but I got a different idea. That is what? Folly. Why? Because God's plan ultimately is going to be the one that wins, right? So anybody who chooses to do something different, to rebel against God's plan, what they find themselves doing is folly. And that's what we're going to see today. We're going to look at Abraham and Sarah. These are Old Testament heroes, the Bible would refer to them. But we're going to find out that even as a Christian, even as a believer, you can wind up doing something that God doesn't want you to do. And when you do that, what is that, Jordan? That's folly. Why? Because it's not going to work out. It may sound like a good idea, and it may look like a good idea for even a long period of time. But if that's not what God plans, it's just a waste of time. Okay? So remember that. This is not just people that are unbelievers. I'm saying what we're going to look at today, this can happen to Christians. This can happen to people that truly believe God. If we find ourselves doing something that God doesn't want you to do, it's just you may even waste years of your life. Do you know that? You can waste years of your life doing what God doesn't want you to do, and it can look like it was working out just fine. But ultimately, God is the one that has the plan. You got it? So that's what we look at today. Everybody good? Okay. Well, let's. You all know that we're going back to Genesis now. We're going to try to pick up where we were with Abraham. And so our text is it's actually 2 chapters, and everybody groans. It's 2 chapters. But I need to read it so that you can hear the context.